This is the fourth video PD on Understanding by Design. Today we will be completing Stage 2, which encompasses developing the summative assessment, pre-assessment, and determining other evaluative evidence of student learning that will be focused on in this unit. Here are our guiding questions for this session. Please take a minute to read them to yourself. As was mentioned in Stage 1 and needs to be revisited again in Stages 2 and 3, it is all about the alignment between the three stages. As you design Stage 1, you need to ensure that there is alignment between all of the components within this stage. Then, when you start to design Stage 2, the designer needs to ensure that the assessments developed all align to the highly leveraged standards, supporting standards, and constant standards. This takes time but ensures a well-developed and quality assessment for your students. Please refer to the handout called Your Beliefs About Assessment. Follow the directions and be ready to share with a partner when prompted to do so. Please refer to the handout called The 3 Types of Assessment. In Stage 2, the designer only develops the summative assessment and the pre-assessment. The formal formatives and common formative assessments are developed in Stage 3. When developing these two assessments, why is it important to develop the summative assessment first? Please refer to the handout called Guidelines for Developing the Summative Assessment and Pre-Assessment. Fill in the information from the slides for future reference and discussion.
Here are the guidelines for creating the summative assessment.
Needs to be aligned to the unit's highly leveraged standards.
70% needs to be written at the same level of thinking as the highly leveraged standards.
30% can be written at the lower levels of cognitive rigor. Many times these questions or components come from supporting and constant standards within the unit.
Determine number of questions per standard PO segment that will show mastery.
Choose a traditional or performance assessment type or a combination of both based on the cognitive rigor level.
Determine the criteria that demonstrates mastery. The criteria is actually what gives the performance assessment its cognitive rigor.
Develop the aligned scoring guide or tool. For example, key, rubric, checklist, etc.
Now, the pre-assessment development guidelines.
Focus on highly leveraged standards for the unit.
Develop an assessment which has 10 questions or less.
Take 10 minutes or less to administer.
Is easy to analyze.
Make sure it is sequenced from easiest to most difficult questions.
Ensure the first question. All students should be able to answer correctly. Last question, more difficult than your most gifted student.
In our next handout, Effective Assessment, Rick Stiggins gives us pointers on how to use assessment to give us the best information about a student's learning.
Consider a photo album versus a snapshot, otherwise known as multiple and varied. Match the assessment measures with the goal, otherwise known as alignment. Who is going to use the information from the assessment, otherwise known as purpose?
When developing assessments, we want to consider the following: highly leveraged, supporting, and constant standards, if it is a performance assessment or a traditional assessment, and the evaluative performance criteria. Remember, it is all about the alignment to the standards in Stage 1. Let's define some assessment vocabulary terms so we all share the same understanding of what each one means.
A task is what you want students to do to demonstrate their learning aligned to the desired outcomes of Stage 1. A tool is the best assessment method or methods that aligns to the task to adequately show you and the student what they have learned and what they still need to learn. Criteria for success are what essential learning will you assess to verify evidence of learning from your students.
Please refer to the handout called Assessment Tools. Assessment can be in the form of traditional or performance. Traditional assessment tools are best fitted for DOK Level 1. Performance task tools are best suited for DOK Levels 2, 3, and 4. With your table team, please answer the reflection questions on the bottom of the page. One way to construct a performance assessment is with GRASPs. Please refer to your handout called GRASPs and GRASPs Math Example. If you use this performance assessment template, you should end up with a quality performance assessment. However, don't overuse it. Thank you for your time and engagement with today's video. We hope that you are leaving with some new and validated learning. At this time, we're going to ask you to do a 3-2-1 closure activity. Please get a sticky note and write down 3 things you would share with a teacher new to teaching about assessment. Write 2 things you will implement because of your new learning or validation of previous learning, and 1 question you have at this time about assessment.